Obviously, as a durum grower and in the wheat country of southern Saskatchewan, I was happy to hear about JRI's purchase of a durum processor. And although it got me thinking of all the reasons why you might be doing it, and there's a lot of obvious ones. Obviously, for supply chain and logistical purposes, it makes a lot of sense. It does put you closer to the end consumer. I can think that, just in general, there's a lot of boxes that ticks for you. Are there any less obvious reasons, ones that people might not be as familiar with, that led to your targeting and ultimately acquisition of that company?
Yeah, the transaction hits on a number of different levels, or meets a number of different objectives that we're trying to achieve in the growth of our company. And we've been in business since 1857, and through for the very large part of that history, we've been in Canada and in grain handling and grain export exclusively. And over the last few decades, we've started growing that into food processing. We've gotten into canola crushing and then into oat processing. And we started expanding geographically in that processing side of things into the US and then into the UK with an oat mill that we recently acquired in Bedford, England. And I think this acquisition then does two things. It increases our presence in the US, and it does so in further food processing of a crop that we handle in Canada, namely durum.
What do you get with this acquisition?
So it comes with a durum mill, it comes with grain handling assets. It's situated on the Mississippi, so it's got some shipping opportunities. So I think it's a very, very attractive acquisition for us.
We've heard a lot lately about all the links with the rail deals, Kansas City, Southern, CP, CN, both bidding independently for that railway. What does that do for you, and what impact do you see that having going forward, both at the farm level and for yourself as a grain handler?
Well, it's coincidental, but we certainly see it positively in the sense that our interest, I think what we can bring to the table with our acquisition of these assets, essentially south north, to be able to take advantage of our strengths on both sides of the border. And that the name of the game in this business is really efficiencies and logistics. And the more seamless that system is, the better it is for us.
Obviously, politics in the United States is always interesting. We've seen President Biden make a declaration about anti-competitiveness, and he did reference agriculture specifically. Do you anticipate any kind of regulatory hurdle or any other roadblocks being put up in place that we should be aware of?
Yeah, we don't anticipate. We were going through the regulatory process. The fact that we're not currently in durum milling, I think makes it fairly obvious that our acquisition isn't going to have a negative impact on competition. And I think the ag sector has historically been a very sensitive sector, and I think attracts a lot of attention politically from a regulatory standpoint. So I think those types of comments aren't unusual, aren't unexpected, but we don't think have really an impact on the review that's going to occur in this case.
Should we expect any branding changes?
I think that's still something that we're considering. I think we're fortunate that we've got two strong brands to deal with. We've got the Richardson brand that is very well known in Canada and starting to be better known in the US and internationally. And we've got the Idle Granny brand that is very well known among Durum customers. So we're going to have to decide and make some key decisions on how those brands will work together, coexist, and what role each one is going to play.
So you've talked about a lot of things that are really exciting going forward: canola crushing, oat milling, durum milling. What's the next thing going to be?
As you've named those commodities, they're commodities that we grow and we handle in Canada, and that's our strength. And I think it's fair to say that the opportunities that we're going to be looking forward as we grow our company are going to be the commodities that we are able to source. And I think, the first areas that we look at are the commodities that we currently process as well. So I think we're going to continue looking for opportunities along those lines.
We grow pulses around here in Pence, where I'm from, and most of southern Saskatchewan. Do you think JRI will be entering that crop at any time?
I mean, we handle pulses as well, and so that's not necessarily out of the question. I think it's always in any type of new business venture, looking at what the existing landscape looks like, what the competitive field looks like, and whether we're able to be a meaningful participant or not. I don't think there's much use in us getting into a new venture without being able to be a meaningful, impactful participant. And that kind of goes back to this transaction. We become, through one acquisition, a very important participant in the durum milling business. And that, I think, is something that we've always tried to achieve, is if we're going to be in an area, we want to be meaningfully in that space.
How should farmers view this acquisition?
Well, I think it's, I think whenever you've got a player like Richardson that's Canadian-based, has a strong presence in Western Canada and among your membership, the fact that we continue to invest, that we continue to grow, and that growth is premised on the strength of really the Western Canadian base that we're operating from, I think that's a good news story. Like, I think that I think they should see some positive signs of that. We're potentially going through some rough times now with droughts and maybe a little bit of negative sentiment as a result of it. But I think the long-term picture is a positive one. And when you see investments like this, I think those are positive signals. If we're seeing retrenchment and the sale of assets and the divestiture of our presence, I think that would be a whole different story.
And I agree with that. Congratulations and best of luck with completing the rest of your deal. Thanks a lot.